Parental controls. Welcome back to Pushing Technology to the Limit. This is something I've been thinking on for a good long time now, and I haven't bothered to make a video. But this is a problem that we have in today's society, is parental control. Now my question is it really parental control, or is it child control? You know, one problem that we have in this day and age is that the kids can run the televisions and the modern computer equipment better than us older folks can. Now, we need to take back that control. Because how I see it, it's child control. It's the child controlling the parents. So in a way, it is parental control because the parental control is controlling the parents to stay off their TV or whatever it is that has parental control on it. Now, I have tested a bunch of parental controls out so far, and they're worthless. I tell you what. So, the thing that I'm getting at today is that you need to have a parental control system that is bulletproof. And I mean, you gotta think outside the box of your kids. Now, for one, I'm talking from a technician's point of view, and I don't have kids, but I know what it's like to be a kid, and I know what it's like to outsmart my parents on a bunch of technology stuff. So I've been there. I'll give you a little. Well, I wasn't a child when I did this, but I was. What was I? I was 99. Well, I graduated high school in 1999, so I was probably like 19 or 20. So I was a young man. I was still living at home, and I got a. Well, this is going to show my age. A dual deck VCR, and it had parental controls on it. So I was messing around with it one day because we had a system at our house to make copies of VHS tapes. And so my dad would come in every morning to eject the tapes. And the VCR was in my bedroom, and I was sleeping at the time. I figured out how to lock up the VCR so that the power button, the clock, the eject button would not eject the tapes on my father. This is where I've learned that, you know, like I said, I wasn't much of a kid by then. I was a young man. But I figured out how to, you know, lock my parents out of the VCR. Of course, it was my VCR to start with, so, you know, I just didn't want to be woken up with the tapes ejecting out of it. So, this video that I'm doing is to show you how to make your system bulletproof. And I'm going to warn you up front that this is going to be a little bit more advanced than some videos I've done. But I will explain myself when I talk about something that does not make sense to you. And I will show you on the computer what I mean when I say it. So, like, for example, VLANs. When I first started with computers, I did not know what a VLAN was. And a lot of you don't know what a VLAN is. But since then, I have learned what a VLAN is and how to utilize it properly. And so a VLAN stands for Virtual Local Area Network. Basically, it's a network outside of your default network. I'll show you on the switch when I get to it. So, how to get a more advanced child control, if you want to say it like that, instead of parental control. I mean, isn't that who we are really controlling, is our kids? I mean, I think I understand why they call it parental control is because the parents are trying to control the kids. But in all reality, I think it's the exact opposite. It's the kids controlling the parents. But anyways, back on subject. the parents need to take back the control and be the parental control. So, some places it's going to be tough to do this because of the size of the house or the layout of the house. But in modern society, we all need to start making dedicated electrical rooms. And I don't mean for your fuse box, I mean for your audio and visual equipment. Whether it's your PC or VCR, DVD player, your Netflix player, everything needs to be located in a central room. And your TV's in another room. So, the network I'm going to show you is what I have set up in my own house. And it was very expensive. But I'm going to give you the starter end of things. There's what they call smart switches. I was going to say managed switches because that's the true name. My feeling about when they say smart is because they wanted to get on board with Macintosh when they came out with their smartphone. Now, back before their smartphone, they were called managed switches. But now everybody calls their managed switches smart. Well, if you want to call it this, but it was kind of a smart move on their part because it's easier to remember which is a program switch and which is not. So, all you have to do is go anywhere on the internet, whether it be Amazon. Most of you know that I shop on Amazon, but you can buy a smart switch anywhere on the internet. And I'm not going to say which store is the best from the other. I only judge a store by the price. And if you can get a better price at Amazon, go for it. If you can get a better price at Newegg or Tiger Direct, go for it. But these switches that I've got to control my TVs and VCRs and other media equipment is all on a smart switch. And I'm going to recommend you to go with, if you're like, oh man, that is a lot of money, because these are expensive parts, I'll be honest. But if you are really concerned about controlling your kids from watching bad stuff on TV, getting on bad stuff on the internet, I know I'm kind of going off the trail here again, but I've gotten people saying, well, if you just didn't have the internet and cable and whatever else in your house, that temptation wouldn't be there. What is wrong with you people? Everything is on the internet nowadays. Phone, banking, you name it. It's on the internet. How can you get away from it? You can't. You could in the 80s because there wasn't a thing as called the internet back then. I mean, they had somewhat of the internet, but not like it is today. But everybody requires internet in their house or on their phone. So that is out of the picture of trying to not have internet in your house. I mean, give me a break. Those days are over with, all right? So those people that are saying, well, just don't have it in your house, well, you turn off the internet for once and see how it goes. Well, here I am. I'm rambling again off the subject. But anyways, we need to set up a different kind of a network to be able to control your kids. And there's several components that we can get. And there's also, if you are a techie, and I don't mean a techie, I don't mean you need to know every single thing about technology and networking, but you need to know the basics. And I'm going to help you here understand the fundamentals of smart switching. And it is very easy to do. And, I mean, once you see me do it, you can absolutely do it for yourself. I mean, it's that easy. You don't need a technician to come in and set it up for you. And you need another router. if you got one router right now and you're like, well, I'm happy with it, well, to get what you want accomplished, you need a different type of a router. And I'll go through that more in detail as we go along. So, the parts you need is an HDMI extender, because everything these days are HDMI. Now, if you have cable TV, like either cable box or just your cable plugged directly into your television, I don't recommend that. Now, where I'm at right now, I'm in a control room. And basically, I can lock the door at any given time and nobody will get in. Now, basically, that is what you need to have set up first of all, is a dedicated room where all your equipment is installed. Whether if you have an antenna on your roof, a satellite dish, etc., everything needs to be in a central office. And from there, you lock the doors, and either you unplug the equipment, or you have it set up so your network doesn't communicate with it. Now, the other things that let me just list off the parts and try to. And I know I'm kind of going back and forth here, but let me list off some of the parts here that you need to get started with. The bare minimum that I would recommend for you is an 8-port Netgear smart switch. You need 2 of them. You need one for the transmission and one for the receiving. And you need one for, you just need category, I recommend category 6 in your walls, or you could run just a category 6 cable from whatever point. If you have a room in the basement that you can just easily connect the cable up into your living room, perfect. But I do recommend running wires in your walls, and then that's less mess. The other thing is an IR extender. Now, there's 2 things that you can do. You can either use wired or wireless. But I recommend wired over wireless. Now, I will show you my wireless IR sender. Now, actually, it's a remote control that sends RF to the transmitter, or to the receiving, excuse me, to the receiver of the RF, which is down here in this basement. But I still have, that gives you better flexibility, because I can run the remote control anywhere in the house, not just in my office or in the living room, but I can go outside to run my stereo if I wanted to. But that's kind of going a little bit far. But with a wired IR sender, which you can get those on Amazon, I don't think I have the transmitter part, excuse me, I messed up the thing again. The receiving, the IR receiver on the TV, I think I've got that a little bit too high, because every so often when I hit a key on the remote control, it won't go unless I lift it up higher. So I think that's a problem with my setup, But it's not a problem with the IR extender. So I hope I got a list of parts down. It's two smart switches, either wired or wireless IR sender, an HDMI extender, and if you need to have an like for your VCR, a HDMI converter, because VCRs don't have HDMI, and then you have an HDMI switch to switch between. Or if you have a home theater system, you can use your home theater system as an HDMI switch. So what I was getting at with this whole list of parts is, and with having your cable box down here in the basement or in a control room, is that all your cables are in one room, and you have the output of your cable box or satellite dish connected upstairs, but it's controlled in your control room. So if you unplug the cable, your TV set will say looking for signal or whatever your sign is on your TV set for no signal. So let me start showing you some of the equipment that I have running as of right now, and then I'll go upstairs and show you the actual television that has I can control from a switch and has smart switches on it, and I can control the video signal by my computer. So let me show you the setup that I have down here first, then I'll go upstairs. So here is my rack of audio and visual equipment. And oh, it doesn't go down. And so right here is our VCR and DVD combo and a media streamer, which is Sage Player. And I'm going to show you my other room because that I can actually show you all the individual components that it takes to get this thing to work. Alright, I'm not sure if you can see these two or not. I got a flashlight on one of them. It's kind of dark under here. But this is the HDMI extender. And let's see here. So here, actually, this one right over here is a receiver, and this one is a sender. Now, the reason why I have a receiver and a sender down here is because I'm sending video signal to this room and sending it. So I'm sending it to it and receiving it from another area. So these are the video extenders, and it will send signal from this stereo system, which is let's see here, HDMI, and it has, and so over here is another digital media player that can be controlled from the computer. Now here is a Netgear 8-port smart switch, and like I said, they're about 80 bucks as of right now. And so basically, if you were going to get started, it'd be 160 for the switches, plus another, I'm not doing the math too fast in my head right here, but another 80 for the HDMI extender if you want one. And you get the sender and receiver in one package, so you don't have to buy separate components. So basically you just need two of these smart switches, one in your living room and one in your control room, and you're all set. You really don't need a router with VLANs. That's Virtual Local Area Network. But if you want to do more advanced networking, you do need one. And I will show you one of the routers that I have is actually a computer router, and it's free and it works great. There are a few things with a free router that do not work properly, and that is QoS. Basically, QoS means quality of service, meaning that if you say that you want a certain computer to get, let's say, 768 kilobytes down and 768 kilobytes up, well, that's all they're ever going to get. So let me show you that router now. So here is my laptop router. It's been a very nice router, and it works great. And this has, like I said, the VLANs that you need to route your network. And this actually can control a whole bunch of aspects of your network. Now, like I said, my network is more advanced because you can hear all the fans in the background, and it's because I got a couple of switches down here. So here are my switches, and they are connected by fiber optics, and I don't recommend using Ethernet cable for daisy chaining your switches at all. I mean, especially when you get into video type stuff like I have, you need fiber optics. I mean, yes, you pay a little bit more, but it is well worth it in the end. And I'm going to tell you right now, I had a problem for a while now with my network not functioning right. And the reason was because I had Ethernet daisy chain between the two switches, and that was horrible. So the top switch you see is a 24 port, and that's designated just for video. And the bottom switch is a 48 port switch, and they're all the same smart switches, but the one down below, the 48 port, is basically designated to computers and routers. So I know that's a little overkill for most folks, but once you start getting into video transmission in your house, you're going to need to have a little more of a dedicated system just for video. And that's what my top rack is just for video. So let's say if you want to have a PC for your kids. And I do not recommend having a PC in their bedroom or den or whatever room you have set up for their playroom. You need to have full control over that PC at all times. And actually what I recommend, now I know this is, like I've said, this is going to be over the top, and most people are like, well, that doesn't make sense, but have two stations. What I mean by that is I would actually have a monitor set up that I can actually control the computer from a remote location, like my central office, to say, and one wherever the kids are going to be, and it's PC-less. And that's what's down here. That's what you see behind me is all these PCs. Now, take that for an example, like one's, well, here, let me show you my rack. Let me start out with that. Let me show you what I've got. I know you can't see it too well. You just see a few things back there. But let me explain to you about some of the computer system that I have set up here. And like I've said, it's more over the top for most people, but just take it into a scenario as if it was your home. Let me get to that now. So let's say this Dell is, well, just let's say it's the wife's computer. And of course, the husband doesn't want to have to use the wife's computer to do his stuff. And there's also issues with, the husband wants to do stuff and the wife wants to do stuff. So she has her own computer. So here's the husband. And he's got a grunt horse. Maybe a little bit not as, maybe the wife's isn't as powerful as his, but he needs one to maintenance the system and do all sorts of stuff with it. And so then, say like the kids come along. Well, they want to use it. Well, no. The kids have their own computer. And that is controlled, like I said, in one room. So your wife's computer, the husband's computer, and the kid's computer can be all in the same control room. And what I suggest is having the kid's computer set up so you can control it in your remote office and in the remote location. And I also recommend, now I know that this is, like I said, going over the top and more advanced, but have a monitor set up someplace to monitor the kids' activities all the time while they're on it. You can be in the room, even have the PC recorded, for crying out loud. Just because, I was a kid and I didn't tell the truth all the time. That's what kids do. That's just human nature. We're liars. And just get right down to it. But, the kids are especially more apt to doing it than the people that are more mature. So that's the setup that I recommend, and that way the kids can still have full control of the PC, but they cannot turn it on and they cannot turn it off. Well, they might be able to turn it off, but they can't turn it back on. And you can also set it up so that if they were able to get it on, that they couldn't have the video. And like I said, I'll show you that in more detail. So further protection for your kids now, and this is another router, and it's going to be free. And like I said, if you're a techie, you can set it up yourself. But sometime I will get into that. This video is not on setting up filtering. So right here are two computers. Now you're going to say, oh, why do I have so many routers? Well, these are two routers. This one right here is an IP cop, which is, I've downloaded that operating system off the internet. And it works very well to block stuff. Now with this router, I recommend it highly for people with kids. Because what this will do is it will shut down the entire network so that any web page that you go to, you have to have prior authorization to get on. Now, that isn't too handy for the adults that want to get on the internet and just surf. But this is more of a protection for the kids, and not even just the kids, but even just your computer system itself. It blocks all sorts of stuff, like pornography and gambling and dating sites. I mean, we're adults here now in this household, but I still have those sites blocked, and a whole bunch of other stuff that could be hindrance to the network. But I've actually got onto some sites that looked legit, but were not. And this router actually threw up an error. It says this site has been blocked, and it said the error, whether it was a tracking cookie or it was gambling or dating. You don't let those, and they don't get passed. But I'm saying that this IP cop is just a bandage, because there's other things that do get through that you would have to customize not to get through. But that is a good stopper for most activities. And although the only thing that some parents are concerned about is their kids spending too much time on Facebook, this router will not block Facebook. And I don't know how to block Facebook. I mean, there's just some websites that are just too hard to block. And it's really too technical to go into explaining, because I don't even understand why you cannot block these sites. And I've done research on blocking Facebook, and I don't know how. And nobody else, I don't think, knows how either. And I think that is pretty bad, that you cannot set up some sort of a router. I mean, like I've said, the only way that you can stop it is fully by shutting down the entire internet, so that you have to customize each website you want your kids to go to. So, and the other one's basically the same type of a router as the laptop, but the one reason why I have two of the same kind of routers, and they're called Zero Shell, and you can look up Zero Shell on the internet and download the file and install it on an old PC, which I highly recommend. And this is getting kind of off the subject, but there are things why I've switched these routers, because these used to be laptops. I switched them from laptops to desktops because the desktop has more power, and these are like probably 10-year-old computers, and they're slower than molasses in January, but they're powerful. I mean, for the router, it's nothing. I mean, I can do a lot of stuff with this 10-year-old desktop, and it still runs like brand new. And with the laptop, stuff is just slower, but with the laptop, it's nice because I have certain things set up on it that do not take horsepower, like phone service for one. And the reason for my two different laptops, or my two different Zero Shells, is that the one that's a laptop is not filtered like this one is. So these two are the filtering systems. I know this is all a little bit over the top for most people. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible to help you set it up. Now, this is just for your information of what I've got going to keep things safe, and just for your information of how to, what you should look for. Now, I've got to do a video on how to set up IP-COP because there's not an awful lot of information out there on YouTube or anything like that on how to set up a perfect router. And that's, I mean, that's what comes with free, but I'm going to be doing a video soon on that, and I'm not sure what I'm going to call that, but I'm going to help you folks get it set up and running. And it is, once you get it set up and running, it's basically just, how should I say, plug and play, and you just plug it in and you set it up and it plays and it just runs. And although the only thing that I've got a problem with IP-COP is the fact that it is set it and forget it. Which, it's nice, but it doesn't give you too much flexibility if you want to change something. You basically got to crash your operating system and redo it, which is kind of a dumb way to do it, but that's the only way that I have found to undo a mistake that I've done. Like if it's a wrong IP address. So it's not too flexible that way. But if you set it up and leave it alone, you're not going to make any changes, then it's a good router. But let me get to the showing you how the parental control stuff works. I know I've gotten off on the rabbit trails on things like that, but I think this is just something that you need to know to help protect your kids and keep things safe. Let me get upstairs now, and I will show you the TV setup that I have, and I'll show you how all that works. And basically, I'm going to teach you how to set up your switch so you can just get up and going. And I know that this video is a little bit longer than it should have been, but I think this is what you need to know. And if you're new, please just do your research, and I'll try to make it as easy as possible for you to understand so that even you can do it. And let me get to that now, and I'll show you a bunch of things that are very easy to configure. So here we are up in the room where my TV is, and as you can see, there's speakers and stuff on it, and there's no stereos anywhere. That's all in the control room. And this video source that you see can be all controlled by my network. Now let's look at the back of the television. So here's the back of my television. No coaxial, nothing except for one HDMI cable. And right here is the HDMI receiver, which comes from the basement through my network. So as it's blinking, you know that it's receiving signal. So you can basically, this is, as you can see it, this is the TV guide that you can watch TV on. And this is just off-air antenna. We don't get anything fancy here. But, there's no cables here to connect to the TV, even if it was an antenna. There's absolutely no antennas, cables in this room, except for the basement, in that control room. So now let me show you the network setup that I have. And like I said, it is very easy to turn on and off this TV set without having to unplug it or unplug wires. It's just whether you got an iPhone or an iPad, it's just a tap away or a click away on your computer to turning this on or turning it off. I don't know if you're able to see this very well on the screen, but this is my ports list on the switch up here. Now, everything is listed from, what the device is that is connected to that port. And basically you have to type in what that port goes to. And so what I'm looking for right now is this one. See if I can highlight it. HD TV, which is on port 4. I don't know if you can see that too well or not. So it's right there. You can see I highlighted it, port 4. You go to VLANs, and this shows you all of your VLANs. So like a Netgear. Let's see here. As you see, the ones I have highlighted, 1, 2, and 3. I hope you folks can see this, because I'm looking at this through my viewfinder, and I'm even having a hard time seeing it, except for what's on my screen. But 1, 2, and 3 are the default networks. Everything else after that is a VLAN. Now, 1, 2, and 3 you cannot change for anything. That is system defaults on a Netgear. Now, how you would set up your network. So, like, this is a big switch, but an 8-port switch would look exactly like this. Now, depending on what brand switch you buy is going to depend on how it looks to you, but I do recommend Netgear because they are absolutely the easiest. And my browser just crashed. Sorry about that, folks. My browser just crashed as we were talking. I have no idea why it does that. It does it from time to time. It's kind of annoying. But anyways, so how I would recommend you to set up your switch. Like I said, you can use a small switch. This one's a bigger one for my needs. But everything starts off, after 3. So like anything that I've made is 4 through 18. Now, how I recommend you setting up your switches, and this is now I did mine differently for the fact that I didn't want to fill up all my local network with switch management. As I was saying before, I didn't want to fill up all of my local network with switch management because I wanted to have that free for computers. Now, the more stuff that you have on your network, I recommend you using a special router, which is called a VLAN router, and that means Virtual Local Area Network. And all routers, I'm not saying all, but these are special, and I don't mean they're special. I don't know why I call them that. But they are business routers. Now, the one that I'm actually looking at now, and I'm showing you on my computer, is a free one. And I like it. The only thing that does not work on this router, I have no idea why, but the quality of service stinks. Now, maybe because it's free. I don't know. But for the rest of it, it's perfect. I mean, I do have some a paid business router. And you may ask, why do I have so many routers? Well, I know this is off the subject again, but in my case, each router does something different that the other one doesn't do. So my free one that I'm showing you does everything pretty much that I want except QoS. So I have to put a QoS router in line with this router to be able to achieve what I want. And the Netgear business router that I bought will not function on some things that I really need. And this free one does it perfectly. And that's the one I recommend you using, whether you use it in a virtual machine or on a physical computer. Now, a virtual machine is a totally different subject that I am not going to get into today. But I'm dealing with the physical machines right now. And I do like virtual, but there's also a drawback to virtual. It's slow, for one, depending on your computer speed, for that matter. And the other is my problem is I've got so much stuff running on virtual systems that if one system goes down, like the host computer, like those physical computers down cellar that you saw, if one of those goes down, then a whole pile of stuff goes down. But it's not that bad because I can just transfer the virtual systems over to another computer and keep going in some cases. But like I said, that's a whole different topic that I'm not going to cover today. And I'm wasting my time talking too much about it. But let me get back to the computer here and show you my virtual LANs that I've got going here. And I'll show you how to shut off this television just with a flick of a button. And as you can see in the previous footage, that it was working. So basically, I'm going to help you set up a VLAN. It's quite easy to do. And I've got two switches open here. Let me get that one other set up too. Let me see here. Well, just to give you an example, I'm not gonna set this anywhere close to what I have. So I'm gonna make it 700. That's the VLAN ID, and I'm gonna call it test 1 2 3. Now I am not gonna keep this when I'm done with this video because it's no use to me. It's just showing you how to set this thing up. So you click add in the lower right hand corner. So there at the bottom of the screen is 700 test 1 2 3. Now to make this fully functional, now that switch that I was just on, this one right here is this room. So this one is the switch in the basement. So basically, this is your control room. Let me go back to control and receiving part of it. So this is your control room switch. This is your office or living room switch. Okay? So what you need to do with your control switch is make the same thing. Now I don't think that the VLAN name, now I'm not sure, I cannot prove this to be 100% true, but I don't think the name has any relevance to the number. And what I mean by that is if you labeled this whatever, HDMI transmitter, and on switch 3, on switch to your receiving end, if you label that receiver, that does not matter. It's the port number that matters. It's 700. So back to this switch, you just click add in the right hand corner. Let me show you right here. Here's my mouse. I clicked add. So here is test 1 2 3 on this switch. Now if this is going to be your HDMI extender for your television set, your computer, whatever it may be, just put your name there in that switch. You don't need an IP address. So basically, well, let me go check my ports list. So port 22 is empty. So I can say whatever that is. Let's say test. Well, yeah, test HDMI. So I did test HDMI sender on port 22. So now you got to remember that port 22 is the HDMI, is a test HDMI sender. Now come back over, and now if you have your ports all labeled out, I do recommend labeling your ports so you don't, so when you go back to port management again, you can find it, or even print it out, just screen print. That's what I've done. So then here's another one. Here's port 22 on this switch that is empty, which is good because if you label your ports equally, so the 22 and 22, whether it's on the transmission switch or it's on the receiving switch, it's the same number, so you don't have to scratch your head and say, hey, where did that other thing go? So, but here, you don't want to put sender. You put receiver. And test would be whatever you want to call it. Whether it be TV sender, TV receiver, PC receiver. I mean, they've got all sorts of nifty little gadgets out there now that you can send your KVM, which is keyboard, video, and mouse, through the network and with the video and audio. And I mean, this is how this computer is working right now, is offering one of those KVM extenders. Very nice unit. And so, anyways, just say you're going to do an HDMI extender. All you need to do is go to your VLAN, and you see 700. Go to Advanced, port PVID. This is a very crucial part that you need to do. You cannot make this work without it. So here's port 22. I'm not sure if you can see that too good or not, but there's port 22, and it's still on the default VLAN, which is 1. All switches come with it like this. So I'm going to type my port number in, 700. I would leave everything else alone, like where it says, and if it says VLAN tagging, it says none, emit all, disable. So like, let me read the names for you. Acceptable frame types. Don't ask me what that means, but it's by default it's emit all. And then there is configured aggressive, if that's how you say it, aggressive filtering disabled. I don't monkey with those. The one that I might monkey with is this last one right here. It's port priority 1 through 7. Now that is good if you need something prioritized, like video, for instance. That takes a lot of power to transmit. Now, if everything else is taking more bandwidth, you can customize it. 0 is as low as you can go, and 7 is the highest. So like, there's one here I've got on 7. I want it the highest priority that I can have it on. So anyways, back to the configure PVID. I've got it set at 700. I hit apply down here in the right hand corner. And okay, so you can check your number again. Port 22 is on 700, which is highlighted in blue. Basically, you do the same thing on the other switch. And I know that this is more advanced than maybe most people want to go through, but I'm telling you, this is easy. I mean, I can't explain this any easier than I am right now. It's very simple. And it works, but you got to. And I've did this myself one time. I really made a humdinger of the setup. I mean, I've messed up some port numbers, and let me tell you what, that was a nightmare to get it all straightened out. And when you have multiple of these things connected together, it can get worse. But having two is quite simple. It is very easy. So, there's 700. Alright. So now when you get your PVID configured, now please don't ask me what that means. Just do the directions as I'm telling you to do. And you want to go over to VLAN membership. Now, by default, all these are untagged. Or, yeah, they are all highlighted with untagged. You want to, if you're going to do HDMI video, you want to clear port 22, which I have because I don't need it. And by my defaults, I only have a few selected of what I need. So all I have to do is go down to port or VLAN 700, which is test 123. So let's the network to the switch upstairs. So this is the basement switch I'm working on. You need the first one is T, which means tagged. You want that. Now on port 22, you want that untagged. This will always, now if you get this reversed, it will not work. It just doesn't work. Don't explain. Don't ask me why. This is just the way it's set up. So basically, I have to go over to the same setting on the upstairs switch is the one I'm working on right now. So I got the control room set. I need to do a tag on 25, and I need to do a untag on 22. So if you can't see that too good, which I'm not sure if you can, let me get up quite close. So there's 22. It says untagged, which is what you want. Down here, wherever your daisy chain port is, which is mine is 25, it's tagged. So this is the upstairs switch. I'm going to switch over to, yeah, now I'm back onto the other network. And you can see exactly that this is 22 and 25. So these two VLANs now are talking. But you know, the one thing I did not hit on for the fact is that these, and well, I kind of skimmed over the fact of why I set this up on, well, I did explain why, but I want to show you more in detail on my router. Now, as you can see, this is the zero shell router I was talking to you about. Very nice unit. Here's the Ethernet 000, which is my internet. Now, I have you can say that I have the most wackiest setup out of anybody, because there are numbers that are like, people are like, well, why do you have it set up like that? Well, it's just because I need something to fool something else. But anyways, let me get back to what I was getting about. So this is Ethernet ETH01, which is my network for my router. Now, what I've done is I have a VLAN 4, which I have set up with. Let's see if I can see it. It'll be. My mouse is in the way, so you can't see it. Sorry about that. So, anyways, it is VLAN 4, which is switch management. Now, I have this switch set up on a whole. All these switches that I've been controlling right now are totally on another subnet. And subnet means IP address. And I mean, there's another reason why they call it subnet, but I'm not going to get into that. So basically what I've done is I've configured this machine here and this router to see each other, and I really can't get into grave detail on how every single thing works here, and that would have to be a later video. Basically, I got a 192.123.123. something, and I'm not going to tell you my full IP address, but you can make your switch whatever. Now, the only thing that I do recommend is that whatever you make, you always keep the 192. I have found that going to like 182 or something like that totally froze the networking infrastructure off. So if you keep everything in the 192 network, but changing all the other IP addresses, you can isolate your switches so that none of your other computers will ever get onto it. So like for instance, I don't have Wi-Fi except for a separate Wi-Fi system. All my routers are wired. There's no wireless. It's just a wireless app. And I can tell every wireless client in my network that these are the certain networks you have access to and certain things you do not have access to. So like for instance, I would make and I'm not going to set up another one because I just showed you one VLAN, test 1, 2, 3. Now, if I were to set up, say, like our kid's Wi-Fi, you could have that without a password, but I don't recommend it. And getting on the whole wireless subject anyways is a totally another subject. But, I mean, let me give you some pointers on wireless. Wireless can be hacked, and it's the most unsecure network, even though that you got it weak protected or whatever the protection you may have on your network. Wireless is the most unsecure type of a setup that you would ever have on your home. I mean, anybody can hack it. I've hacked my own. And I'm not even a hacker. I don't spend my time trying to figure out how to hack into people's stuff. That's not my goal in life. My goal is to help you out to get stuff set up. I don't have time to hack. But I'm letting you know that wireless is not the safest thing on market. And I don't care what they claim. So let me show you how, and I've gotten kind of totally off the subject of protecting your house, but I mean, this all is relevant to what you need to do. And my TV is still lit up with the screen on with video. But I've got to get back to that, and I'm going to do that right now and show you how to absolutely dismantle your television so that your kids cannot watch it. Now here is HD TV, port 12. And down here on my switch, as you can see, I got 25 tagged. And where's the other one? Oh, 25 and 4 are 25 is tagged, 4 is untagged. Now, what you need to do to dismantle your television is to clear it. Right now, as you can see, it's all with video. So here, I got a TV source running. That's off my TV antenna. So now, all I've got to do, like I've said, take 4, do not touch 25, just take 4, and see there's absolutely no untagged whatsoever. It's just blank. Let me get it down there so you can see it better. So I've taken out the U, which is untagged. And now all you've got to do is hit apply, which is down here in the right hand side of the corner, and watch the television set. Boop! Gone. The signal is toast. I don't know if you can see it, but it says searching for TX. Now you can't get any better than that. The kids can't run your television once you decheck your port. And you have this at your fingertips all the time. If you tell your kids to get off the TV and they don't, you can shut the TV down yourself. And that's it. So all you have to do now, when you want your television to come back on, is to check it so that it's on you again, and then hit apply. Right down here in the right hand corner. So right here, the television just came back on. Very simple. Now let me show you something in the zero shell router that is beneficial to you. Now say that you have your kids' network all set up, but you do not want them to access your computer. You don't want them gaining your access to your files or other protected stuff that you don't want them to access, like switch management or your PC, your Mac, whatever it is. I don't care if you run a Mac. I mean, I like Macs. I don't have one, but I've used them in the past, and I love them. I mean, they're even easier than PC, for crying out loud. But I have a PC, and that's what I've stuck with. And you can run a Netgear network on your Mac just as well as you can with a PC or a Mac network. But I don't know. I mean, to me, I don't care. I mean, Mac people, yeah, I mean, you can stick with a straight Mac network, but I've never ran one, so I know they're different equipment. But basically, networking is networking, but Mac networking equipment is going to be different than basically different than a Netgear switch or router. I don't have any preference really to what networking equipment I use. I use whatever I can get my hands on and whatever is easy to use. And if I can't use it, then I learn about it. And this is why I'm teaching you how to run your own network, so you don't have to have somebody come in and set it up and pay them big bucks for just a few little switches that you can set yourself. So anyways, on your kids' network, you can set up a whole different IP address. So let me show you how to set that up now. Now let me just say that all routers, small business class routers, are going to be different. Whether you're buying a Netgear router, a Cisco router, or a free one like Zero Shell, they're all going to be different. Now, I do recommend one thing. I would stay away from Cisco with a 10-foot pole. I've had nothing but hell with that company, and I don't have anything good to say with it. And I'm not going to talk any more about it because it just makes me mad just to think how much time I wasted and money in their equipment that didn't work worth a hoot. So anyways, that's why I have this Zero Shell router, because the Cisco stuff was just absolute junk. And I only recommend, I mean, there are other routers out there, and I would just check your brands. I mean, price is going to be, basically features of your router. I mean, some of them, yes, you are paying for the brand, but if you buy one, like I've got a TP-Link router that comes in with my internet, that's not a known well brand router, but I'll tell you what, I have never had a problem with that unit. I mean, and I've got a couple of these TP-Link units in the house, and I like it. They're user friendly. It's not like Cisco. So anyways, there I am, hopping off on another rabbit trail. Let me get back. So, now let me bring it over here. A box will come up with your VLAN configuration, ETH01. So, basically, you can make your description anything you want. I'm going to title it Test 1, 2, 3. Now, I'm going to make that 700. Okay, so the VLAN is made now. 700. Test 1, 2, 3. So there you can see it, all highlighted. So what you want to do after that, let me get up here, add IP. So as you can see, it says VLAN, Virtual Local Area Network, is 700. And here's your IP address box to put in your IP address. So let me make up one. Like I said, I'm always going to stay with a 192. And as far as you can make, you cannot go any higher than 254. You can go anywhere in between there, but you cannot go past 254 on any IP address. So anyways, make it 24. So it's 192.24. Let's say 24. 254. Now all of my my routers are at the end of the line. And there's only a reason why I do that, is just so that I don't have a router sitting in the middle of my network when I'm trying to do configurations, because I'm always doing something a little bit different with my IP addresses, and all my IP addresses change from time to time, just to be, either I'm updating something or what have you. But the only thing that I do not change is my switching network. That always stays the same. So I click Net Mask, and so that stays at 255.255.255.0. And I click OK. So now, here is VLAN 700, 192.224.24.254. So now you go to your master switch, whatever switch that would be, and let's just say, now I have no routers on this switch, but let's just say that port 26 is my router. Now, you would check 26 as a tag. So then you just hit apply. Now, now that is all set for your router. And every computer, whether it be whatever it may be, like whether it's on port 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever port, you want those all untagged, just like your HDMI, HDMI sender and receiver. But the only thing that I recommend you doing is, and this is going to be a big problem if you mix your PCs with your HDMI sender. That will not work. I've tried it and it was a failure. And that's why I make a VLAN for each video system I have on my network. Now basically this will keep your kids safe, and you can control the internet from this interface. You can tell your kids whether you want them to have internet or not, or if they're not getting off the internet, you can just shut it down without having to shut off your routers. And I'll tell you that shutting off your router or the switch, and if you have a big setup like I have, it will take you forever to reboot the thing. So I don't recommend that. I recommend keeping everything connected to your switch. Just tell your switch, off on that port. And basically that's all you got to do to control anything. And this is true parental control right here. Is your network. Now, the only way you can keep everything safe is you write down a certain password that your kids will not ever know. Think of something that you can think of that only you would know, but not them. Like your great-grandmother's anniversary. Doing that for an example. So basically that is as simple as it gets to have parental control over your entire system in your house. Now, if you're starting out, I recommend the 8-port switches. And I can't explain it any easier than that, how to get things going. And with the TV, that's about the only thing I can show you that really does, what I'm trying to get to you folks to do. I'm not trying to get you to do it. I'm not twisting your arm and saying you better do it. No, it's not that at all. I'm just saying that's how my system's set up, and I think that is a perfect parental control. And you just let your kids use what you want to use, and then the rest you say, well, your time is done. The one thing I didn't go into with the zero shell router is I have not seen another router do this, but zero shell actually has account set up. I can't remember what it's called. It might be Web Portal or something. I can't remember. But anyways, you set up the account, and each user, you define a certain amount of time to be on the internet, whether you want to allow them 1 hour a day or 2 hours or 30 minutes, in exactly what time frame you want them to be in. And other than that, they're restricted to the internet. And I've talked to some parents about their home network, and they're saying, well, they shut off this or they shut off that, and the kids can't have access to it. I'm like, what is a dumb way to do it? You just turn it off, control it from the network, be your own admin, and then you don't have to show off the network, and you don't have to restrict yourself for the kids' sake. And that's basically parental control in a nutshell, and as easy as I can make it. And obviously, I think it's a wise investment. And you can look at HDMI extenders on Amazon, and like I said, I'm not promoting one company. I'm just telling you where I get these things, because I cannot find some of these parts anywhere else except Amazon. Now, the switches, like I said, yes, I can buy them anywhere, even at Worst Buy. I can buy them there. I get ripped off for it, of course, but I can buy it there. And but for the HDMI extenders, I'm not sure. It just depends on how often people are wanting them. I mean, they're getting to be more popular now. I've seen them other places, but horrendous. And Amazon's the only place I found them affordable. Now, as far as brands concerned, I do not have a certain brand that I recommend. The only ones that you should look for, and I should have told you this earlier, is that you need to look for the ones that say TCP over network. Now, there's a lot of HDMI extenders out there that are only point-to-point, means that this is the first point, which is down here, and then your living room is the other point, and you can only connect it through one cable. That's good. That is alright in a way, but to me, it's useless, because it hogs up one cable, and if you only have two cables in your living room or kitchen or wherever you have your equipment set up, you're either going to have to run more, or you're going to have to set up something more advanced. And when I ran my network, I basically just ran 6 category 6 cables, and I did the crimping myself, so that for the plates in the walls. But if you get to be too serious, and I don't mean, I just mean as far as serious is concerned, is how much stuff you got connected, pretty soon that Ethernet cable will not hold the video signal anymore. You will have to go to fiber optics. And fiber optics is going to be a whole new video that I'm going to have to film one of these days. I just haven't gotten to the point of doing it just yet. But that fiber optic stuff is really amazing technology. That's better than Ethernet. I still like Ethernet, but fiber optics is more reliable. Anyhow, I hope you get something out of this video to keep your kids safe on the internet, and keep looking for more videos. I also have a Facebook page. You can just do a search for Pushing Technology to the Limit on Facebook, and there's a whole group there that I'm actually going to post this video to, and I have a lot of other videos that are posted to. And that's the best place to get your updates. And if you ever need to get a hold of me, it's just Tony Pushing Tech on Facebook. That's the account that I'm under. And it's TEC. And it's Tony Pushing Tech, TEC. And I couldn't get technology in there. So you can send me an email if you need more help. And I'm willing to help anybody get this going, because it's getting to be a serious problem out there. And this is not something that we can ignore anymore. And we got to be, like I said earlier in the video, we got to be smarter than the kids. And this is one way of doing it. So I hope you got some useful information out of this video. And I hope I made it understandable enough, and that I'm not going too far over your head. If I am, I'll try to make it simpler, but I don't know how to make it any more simpler than I have. But talking to you personally would help me to understand your needs of what you want to accomplish. And that way I can further you along into what you should buy and not buy. Because there's a lot of people out there that can say, well, just buy this or buy that, and they don't tell you how to set it up. And I don't recommend listening to somebody that's not going to help you out in the long run. I mean, you can listen to them. I mean, I have listened to people that don't know what they're talking about, and they still were semi-helpful. So I'm not saying ignore all advice, but just be very cautious of what people tell you. I mean, be cautious of what I tell you. I mean, just, you got to prove it for yourself. But I'm showing you on the video that this really does work. I mean, I can't prove it any more than a video. So I'll talk to you with another video next time on pushing technology to the limit. And you have a good day.